Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. It is Tuesday, 2 days after the Packers tied the Dallas Cowboys 40-40, and I'm coming to grips with it. Certainly that day after was tough, but all right, 2-1-1 heading into the bye week. Lots to work on, but lots of promise. I'm reaching the acceptance part of the aftermath of a primetime game that was objectively a lot of fun and very entertaining, albeit with a very dissatisfying ending. And I know it's funny. I come on here every day. I talk to you fine folks most days, 5 o'clock Eastern time, and Packers Daily. We're talking about everything going on in the Packers world. And I have these meetings. Cheesehead TV does have meetings. I know that's probably a surprise to some of you, but we do. We have weekly gatherings, myself, Corey, Al, talking about what we need to do. What's on offer? How do you get engagement? How do we up the numbers? More views, more engagement. And if I were a regular old YouTuber, I would, go with the low-hanging fruit. Like, is Jordan Love elite? Should Matt LaFleur be fired? These are the things that move the needle. So we have all these conversations about how to get engagement and how to, up the numbers, whatever. I'm telling you, I'm a genius because I'm leading with backup running back Emanuel Wilson. Look, I understand he is not a headliner. He's not a guy who's going to move the needle in most cases. But, man, I cannot get out of, say, the wash, right, of this game, head into the bye week, without talking about the performance that Wilson gave the Packers on Sunday night. That was an outstanding down in, down out, whether he was called on to, utilize everything inside of him to help in the running game, or if he was there in the passing game. We all saw the throwback screen, but he had a number of other nice receptions as well. This guy just brought it all night long, especially there at the end. Josh Jacobs having issues, and I know Brooks stepped in as well, but man, Emmanuel Wilson was a secret star in this game. And the way he was able to get Skinny through the hole at times, gave him some tough yardage after contact. Certainly early on in the game, the running blocking was kind of what we've seen all year. Not a lot of room to operate for any of the backs. But, man, I tell you, Wilson really gave them a spark off the bench, was an excellent change of pace. And it was very clear that LaFleur and company had packages and or drives with him in mind, right? Where he took, and I think it was the changeover from the end of the first quarter into the second quarter, where that whole drive was his almost. And, man, that's not a given, right? Not everybody has a back that you can throw in there and operate on a high level on offense the same way you would with the starter. Certainly you have guys with different skill sets and you want to utilize different ways, but the way they can do anything they want on offense, no matter if it's Josh Jacobs or Emmanuel Wilson, is a real testament to Wilson, his work, everything he's done throughout his time in Green Bay to get to the point where you can set it and forget it. Doesn't matter if it's a backup running back in there. You can still run your offense. That's great. Great stuff from Wilson on Sunday night. And like I said, I know it's not a sexy headline. It's not something that's going to get a ton of attention. So I wanted to use our platform to give him some attention. Just hope he gets some shine. Hope he gets some love. Hope Packers fans recognize what a great job he did all game long on Sunday night in Dallas. What's going on, everybody? Good to see everybody in the comment section. Everybody chiming in, mixing it up. I want to give a shout out, of course, before we get to your questions and comments, to our good friends over at ThedaCare. They say defense wins championships. In life, ThedaCare is your first line of defense against illness and injury. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay in the game. Proud sponsor of Cheesehead TV, ThedaCare. There's a link in the description of this video for you to check out more. Just head to that link or thedacare.org to find out all about everything ThedaCare does. Really encourage you to do so. Thank you to ThedaCare for the support of Cheesehead TV. All right, what's going on, folks? How we doing? We got people piling in here. Pack Daddy says Wilson could be a feature back. I don't know, man. I think he rides that line, right? He's certainly talented enough. I do wonder if he would hold up to a season-long feature role, but yeah, for the most part, like I said, you set it and forget it when he's in there, and that's, again, a testament to his work and everything he's done while he's been in Wisconsin in Green Bay. It's Soder. Most deep in the weeds nerd content ever. Well, I don't do anything if I'm not in the weeds, man. Come on, you know this. This is how I roll. Wilson is very fast as well. Yeah, he's got a little burst to him. I did think he had a chance on that throwback screen. If he takes one more cut to the outside, I think he's got a shot to go all the way. But no question that he was displayed. He displayed some quickness and some speed. That again is a nice change of pace when you've got the bruiser out there and Josh Jacobs. Dennis, what about Chris Brooks? Why can't we praise one guy? Why does it always have to be, what about this guy? How about that guy? What about, how about, what about, how about? Just praise it. It just doesn't, it's not a slight on Brooks. What about Emanuel Wilson? It's okay. It's all right to just give one guy some love without a what about. I promise. It's going to be okay. Now it took a lot longer than I thought it would, but Soder, I hear you, man. What happens when Lloyd gets back? That's going to be fun to watch play out, isn't it? I do think they will mix him in. I do think he'll be given opportunities to show what he can do, but I don't think anything's handed to him. And I do think also the specter, so to speak, of Lloyd potentially and probably coming back at some point this season helps push a guy like Emanuel Wilson. It's kind of like dudes in a contract year, right? You got competition breathing down your neck, or the specter of it. It gives you a little extra something. It gives you a little extra kick, a little extra incentive. And that's something we've heard Ryan Gutekunst talk quite a bit about, fostering competition in every room, in all the position groups, right? I think that's a good thing. That's a very good problem to have, so to speak. Champagne problems, as Joe Barry might put it. Joe, thanks for the super chat, man. With some continuity on offensive line, I think this offense could really take off. Love has been awesome from clean pocket and running game showed some life. Yeah, Joe, I did see Dara put those numbers out there regarding Love's numbers in a clean pocket. And certainly I also think he's been pretty effective when, pressured / blitzed. I think he's done a good job at the line of scrimmage, pre-snap, identifying pressure and getting them into good calls and stuff like that. But yeah, that's encouraging because that's sustainable. When you have a guy who is playing well from the pocket at such a high level across the board, that bodes well for the rest of the season. But yeah, the continuity on the O-line would be a welcome development, certainly given how much they've had to juggle. And it's crazy to think how last year, on balance, most of the season, they had a couple games where they had to throw in guys kind of towards the end of a game or what have you, maybe gave a guy a rest because they had been battling stuff, but they were able to play, etc. But for the most part, they were, playing the same five guys week in and week out for the majority of the season. And then you get to the playoff game and everything falls apart. We know all the injuries up front, but then you get to this season, man, it didn't take but one day in pads in training camp for things to get hairy, right? Aaron Banks goes down with the injury first day in pads. Then you got the Zach Tom injury in week 1. And now they've been juggling ever since, right? Very different than last year, but that's why you can't count on that offensive line continuity. It is a league where a major component, a major part of your season is how you navigate injuries. That is a whole kind of current when it comes to an NFL season that really doesn't get talked about a whole lot outside of the fact that guys are missing games and maybe the replacement isn't as good or isn't playing as well or whatever. But man, that is a major component and a major contributing factor to teams that are able to continue to get better, play well down the stretch and get into the dance and go on a run, right? Here's hoping they do get a little bit more continuity and do find, some semblance of continuity throughout these next couple of weeks coming out of the bye week and really get on a kind of a tear up front, because we certainly saw on Sunday night how they're able to operate throughout, the entirety of that second half. There wasn't a moment where I didn't think, or it didn't seem like the offense was going to be stopped by anything other than themselves, right? And that's with a shuffled O-line. How are you, man? Thanks for the super chat. Kudos to McManus, who saved the day with 2 tackles. Go Pack, go. Yeah, it's unfortunate he couldn't make that one on the blocked extra point. But yeah, and hopefully, and it looks like and sounds like, given LaFleur talking today, that he's not hurt long term. I know it looked like he took the brunt of it there and might be quote unquote injured, but apparently he'll be fine, which is obviously great. Ed, thanks for super chat, man. Seems like only yesterday when we didn't have to jump up and turn around 3 times in a counter circle and say 3 Hail Lombardis when a field goal unit came on. Glad you brought that up, man. I highly encourage, and I mean highly encourage, everyone to check out my conversation with Justice Mosqueda from Acme Packing Company. It just went live here on the channel about a half hour ago. Great stuff from Justice. I mentioned this yesterday in my chat regarding his article over at Acme Packing Company that, again, highly encourage you read it. But great chat with Justice about not just field goal protection, but special teams in general. A whole video on special teams. I'm sure Corey will be thrilled. George, how are you, man? Thanks for the super chat. It was great to see Love performing in the clutch situations when the game is on the line. That's our quarterback. I mean, it's like he's pretty good, right? It's like you can trust him in those situations. And I'm not saying you didn't, George, but yes, it was. And I will say, during that whole, particularly the second half, certainly he kept having to deliver and he kept coming through. That does give you a lot of confidence, both as a fan, obviously, but then hopefully that bleeds over into the coaching staff, the play caller. Maybe they ask or give him a little bit more, responsibility, opportunity, what have you. But yes, I agree with you, man. It was great to see him continuously deliver in that game. Abdul, how are you, man? Hey, Aaron, whatever happened to our O-line depth? Felt like the last 3 years was our strength with how many draft picks we spent on O-line. Abdul, did you miss the game? They had 2 backups in there, and they marched up and down the field and scored 40 points. They were missing 3 offensive linemen. Their top reserve was on the sidelines in street clothes, along with 2 of their starters, and they still scored 40 points in an NFL game. It's pretty indicative of how damn good their offensive line depth is. I get Cleveland was an issue, but man, come on. Come with me to the present, to the now, to a team that just showed how deep their offensive line depth is. I can't go with you on that journey, buddy. George says or asks, hey, Nags, keep seeing rumors about wide receivers being traded. What do you think? I think you can set whatever you are kind of seeing or utilizing to get those rumors in your mind or in front of you in a algorithm or on the internet in general, whatever it is, whether it's something you've seen on YouTube or something on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, I would set that thing to mute and ignore. No, I don't think they're going to trade a wide receiver. I think they're going to keep as many of their players as they possibly can on what is hopefully going to be a run deep into the playoffs and hopefully to the Super Bowl. I just think whatever they would garner or whatever they would gain from a trade, I can't see it being more than what they would get if whoever they were ending up trading walks in free agency and then they get a comp pick back. I can't imagine that it's going to be more, Yeah, Holmes, that's kind of what I'm getting at. George, it's all AI slop. I mean, again, I don't know where your information is coming from, but certainly on Facebook, yes, it's all 90% of it is AI bullshit that you can ignore. Bam Hayam, what's up? They should have put LVN at DT. Well, they did a couple of times when it came to obvious pass rushing situations. You don't want him at defensive tackle on running downs. My goodness. Absolutely not. But yeah, they did run him inside a number of times in kind of, obvious passing situations. And he came real close to a sack in one of them, on one of those rushes. High Powered, what's up, man? America's Game 2025 Green Bay Packers is going to be a wild documentary. I like how you think, buddy. I like where your head's at. That is exactly what I like to see. Wait, Michael is a homer. What's wrong with being a homer? I quote Tyler Herrick, his pinned tweet, I believe. Homer is not an insult. Oh, I think it's in his bio. Homer is not an insult. Nothing wrong with being a homer. Oh my God, you mean you're a fan of your favorite team? I know in this internet world we live in 2025, that's a mind-blowing concept rather than being a constant hater of your, quote, supposed favorite team. Nothing wrong with being a homer at all. See, I love these two. Oh, of course, this also comes from Facebook. Micah says, Dallas also has the worst defense, and putting up 40 on them isn't that impressive to me. Well, you've been numbed by a media ecosphere that has you thinking that putting up 40 on any NFL team is easy. It ain't. I get it, man. They shit the bed in Cleveland, but I am begging you to pull back and have some context here, dude, especially with two backups along the offensive line. It is impressive, and it's not easy. You need to check your privilege, sir. That's what you need to do. Abdul, how you doing, man? Sorry if I missed it. Any word on injuries, especially 95? Nothing definitive, though I did hear LaFleur was asked quite briefly about Devontae Wyatt. I think he was being asked about, like, if there's any kind of long-term concern when it comes to Wyatt, and he said he'd be week to week, which actually is a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought there would be some long-term concern there, but apparently it's week to week. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be available by the time they come back and face the Bengals, but certainly it's not season ending, and that is a blessing. And I would suspect over the course of the next couple days, we'll see what they do as far as any potential moves. We saw one thing they did do today is release Brant Banks. Most likely they're going to put him back on the practice squad, but that does bode well for Zach Tom being available after the bye week. But yeah, when it comes to Devontae Wyatt, still a little bit of wait and see, but hopefully not a very long-term / serious thing, which again, I was worried that might be the case. Mike Witt, how are you, buddy? Good to see you today on Carry the G Radio. Thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for all the support. Really appreciate you, man. Okay, I'm finally over Sunday. Sorry for being negative. Don't ever be sorry, man. Don't ever be sorry. I get the negativity, and I get that being the reaction. Trust me, don't be sorry about it. I understand. Did you happen to see Rex Ryan ripping Jordan Love yesterday morning? Guy's a joke, in my opinion. I didn't, because I don't pay attention to 99% of the national media when it comes to the NFL in general, but particularly the Packers. Why do you think Cheesehead TV exists? I'll pay attention to Andy Herman and Justice Mosqueda 10 billion times before I give Rex Ryan the time of day. Yeah, that's what allows us to live and thrive here in the Packers blogosphere, is because most of the stuff you see on national TV in particular is moronic. So Rex Ryan had something to say. What a shock. I could care less. I barely cared about what Rex Ryan had to say when he was in the league. I certainly don't care what he has to say when he's on a television set. Please. Jerry, how are you? Thanks for being a supporter, a Patreon member, and for the super chat. I love your talks with Justice. Do you guys think we will fix these mental errors? I do, for the most part. I think a lot of what we've seen, certainly early in the season, very frustrating, but very fixable. And I do think, getting the right guys out there will be a major component, but also just getting more time on task, as the coaches like to say, more rhythm, more reps. I do think they'll iron a lot of this out. Rai, that's a really good question. Are corners told to play off versus press by the play caller, or is it up to their discretion? I do remember having discussions about this with Dom Capers back in the day. There's a callback. And I do believe even under Barry most recently, it is mostly up to their discretion. There are certain calls in schemes where you are, yes, required to play, quote, press man, or be physical at the line, or play a certain press technique. I can't say with certainty when it comes to Hafley's system. I haven't asked him. I haven't asked any of the coaches. But that is an excellent question. And after Sunday night's game, it is certainly a question I have. So I will hopefully be able to do so over the course of the bye week and get you an answer. Because like I said, I do know In other systems in the past, it has mostly, not always, but mostly been up to the discretion of the corner. Cheeto, how are you, man? Rex Ryan looks like a Disney villain. He kind of does. That's pretty good. All right, buddy. I got to get going. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Patreon members, Carry the G Club members, don't forget happy hour is at the top of the hour. Your information is on your respective pages. Everyone else, please hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.